The Formula One paddock is currently ablaze with whispers, theories, and high-stakes speculation. Is Max Verstappen truly considering a seismic move to Aston Martin? If the rumors materialize, it wouldn't just shake up the grid, it would redefine the sports landscape entirely. What once seemed like an impenetrable union between Red Bull and its star driver is now showing signs of subtle but unmistakable tension. The spark that ignited this firestorm? A previously overlooked escape clause buried deep within Verstappen's current deal, a clause that could, under specific circumstances, allow the reigning world champion to walk away from his Red Bull contract before its official expiration in 2028. Insiders now suggest that the Silverstone-based outfit, Aston Martin, has become increasingly confident that Verstappen might just be the missing keystone in their meticulously engineered resurgence. Years of methodical recruitment, relentless investment in infrastructure, and strategic hires have transformed Aston Martin into more than just a midfield contender. They believe 2026, the dawn of a new era with sweeping regulation changes and Honda returning to power them, could be the perfect moment for Max to step in and lead them to glory. But this scenario presents a delicate dilemma. Where does that leave Lance Stroll? The Canadian driver's seat has long been considered untouchable, safeguarded by familial ownership rather than competitive merit. The idea of pairing Verstappen with Fernando Alonso, a generational titan in his own right, creates a fascinating but volatile dynamic, one that could either produce fireworks on the track or combust under the weight of egos and ambition. Yet the internal landscape at Red Bull is growing increasingly unstable. Beneath the surface of podium finishes and sponsor-friendly optics lies a bubbling crisis of direction, communication breakdowns, and leadership friction. The whispers of discontent are no longer whispers, their murmurs growing louder with each passing week. Helmut Marko, the ever-candid Red Bull advisor, has already hinted that Verstappen's contract does, in fact, contain a specific mechanism allowing for early termination under certain performance-related triggers. Chief among them? If Max were to find himself outside the top three in the Drivers' Championship standings. It's no longer wild speculation, it's backed by contractual reality. Technically, Verstappen's current deal ties him to Red Bull through the 2028 season, but this clause could act as an emergency exit, and many believe that door might swing open far sooner than expected. The once invincible Red Bull machine has begun showing cracks. Technical misfires, operational blunders, and a creeping sense of stagnation. And when a team with championship DNA starts faltering, the best drivers in the world start thinking about greener pastures. Let's not forget, while Verstappen secured the 2024 title, many believe his individual brilliance masked what was, in truth, a deeply flawed campaign. For large stretches of the season, the RB20 was neither the fastest nor the most consistent car on the grid. Some analysts have gone as far as to say it was, at best, the third quickest machine overall. And even a driver as ruthlessly clinical as Max found himself struggling to recreate the dominant streaks we've come to expect. Marko himself has doubled down on the importance of immediate performance gains if Red Bull hopes to keep its superstar. Every top-tier driver has some form of performance clause, he admitted. They're all uniquely worded, but our focus right now isn't on legalities, it's on making the car faster. He also acknowledged that these clauses tend to become highly relevant during the summer break, an inflection point we haven't quite reached yet. But hovering in third place in the championship with a narrowing buffer is hardly a position of strength for a team that once ruled the grid with an iron fist. Meanwhile, the paddock continues to buzz. Whispers are turning into full-blown conversations. According to Sky F1's Simon Lenby, Aston Martin has emerged as a serious contender for Max's signature. Everyone is talking about Max, Lenby remarked, and I do mean everyone. Walk into any media area, especially around the Dutch press, and you'll hear all sorts of versions. Some are absolutely convinced it's a done deal, others claim negotiations are still ongoing. The intrigue isn't just confined to speculation, it's evolving by the hour. We're not in the business of naming names, Lenby continued, but there are some well-placed sources who believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that Max is Aston Martin bound. Still, questions remain. Why would Verstappen trade the relative certainty of Red Bull, even a struggling Red Bull, for Aston Martin, a team still chasing its first championship pedigree. Especially when whispers from Brackley suggest that Mercedes is cooking up something formidable for 2026, armed with new engine data and simulator figures that reportedly look very promising. Could it be that Verstappen sees in Aston Martin not just a project, but a revolution? A chance to etch his name alongside legends not just for his driving, but for being the man who turned a promising team into a juggernaut? Or perhaps it's the allure of Honda, returning as a full works partner to Aston Martin, rekindling a bond that once brought Max to the pinnacle of the sport. Whatever the reason, one thing is clear. The Max Verstappen saga is entering a new, unpredictable chapter. Red Bull's aura of invincibility has faded just enough for the rest of the grid to start dreaming. And as Aston Martin sharpens its swords for 2026, it might just be Verstappen who leads them into battle. Realistically speaking, there are only two destinations on the current Formula One map that make genuine sense for a driver of Max Verstappen's caliber: Mercedes or Aston Martin. Each offers a different path to future glory, but it's Mercedes that many insiders believe holds the upper hand heading into the 2026 regulation overhaul. Their advantage? A head start in developing the next-generation power unit, particularly in energy recovery and battery technology, giving them a potential edge as the sport braces for one of the most transformative eras in its history. So now, the countdown has officially begun. With Verstappen's continued commitment to Red Bull increasingly tethered to competitive performance, and with both Mercedes and Aston Martin aggressively ramping up their 2026 preparations, Red Bull may soon find themselves caught in a high-stakes off-track race they never planned to lose. Battery performance is expected to be a critical variable in the upcoming hybrid engine formula, and that uncertainty has brought a natural hesitancy to draw early conclusions. Mercedes, despite its reputation for long-term strategic precision, is said to be holding back from any bold declarations until it has firmer projections from its current development work. However, the grapevine within the paddock has its own rhythm, and according to recent whispers, the Brackley-based team is increasingly leaning towards sticking with its current lineup: George Russell and the rising phenom Andrea Kimi Antonelli. This theory gained traction after reports surfaced suggesting that Russell had been offered a new 2-year extension, allegedly worth $30 million. While later clarified by insiders as speculative or premature, the mere fact that such discussions are occurring is a testament to Toto Wolff's enduring faith in Russell's consistency. In fact, as of the 2025 season, Russell is the only driver to have finished within the top 5 in every single competitive session, a stat that underlines his importance to Mercedes' short-term ambitions. If the Silver Arrows do decide to forge ahead with the Russell-Antonelli pairing, Verstappen's pathway into Brackley closes significantly. The door hasn't slammed shut yet, but it's definitely creaking toward closure. And if Verstappen stalls his decision much longer, the most probable scenario remaining could be a leap to Aston Martin, a possibility that has been steadily gathering momentum behind the scenes. Much of the media consensus now centers on two key ties potentially pulling Verstappen toward Silverstone: Adrien Newey and Honda. Both names are deeply interwoven with Verstappen's recent success. The Dutchman and Honda, in particular, share a rich history of triumph. 4 world titles, endless podiums, and a synergy that's become increasingly difficult to overlook. Verstappen himself has spoken glowingly of his time with the Japanese manufacturer. In a recent interview, the 4-time world champion reflected on their journey: "I'm still relatively young, and you never really know what the future holds. I never expected to achieve what we did together. For championships, it's been an incredible ride. The professionalism, the dedication, the way they work, it's something I truly appreciated. Honda gave me everything. It's been unforgettable." Yet there's a looming problem at Aston Martin, and it's not philosophical, it's mathematical. 3 drivers, 2 seats. With Verstappen now increasingly viewed as a likely arrival, someone will inevitably be forced to step aside. At first glance, the answer seems simple. Fernando Alonso, now approaching his 45th birthday, may be nearing the end of his illustrious career. The Spaniard himself has suggested that 2026 could be his final campaign unless the team offers a convincing 1-year extension. But this decision may not be as straightforward as Lance Stroll would hope. While the Aston Martin team owner technically holds the final say, he's no longer the only major voice in the room. Technical mastermind Adrien Newey, who has recently joined the outfit in a strategic advisory capacity, will undoubtedly have a say in shaping the future driver lineup. So too will Honda, which has made it abundantly clear that they intend to play an active role in choosing who sits in the cockpit once their renewed partnership with Aston Martin begins. In that light, assuming Alonso will voluntarily bow out may be a serious miscalculation, if not a strategic blunder. From a constructor's perspective, adding Verstappen to the roster makes perfect sense. His skill, experience, and relentless drive could instantly propel the team into title contention. But championships, especially team titles, require two potent drivers, not just one. And that brings us back to the elephant in the garage, Lance Stroll. Regardless of bloodlines, Stroll has yet to demonstrate the consistent elite-level performance necessary to compete at the sharp end of the grid. Unless he's willing to accept the role of perpetual number two, alongside the scrutiny and pressure that would come with it, his presence could quickly become a liability to Aston Martin's loftier aspirations. Yes, there have been flashes of competitiveness from Lance in 2025 under ideal conditions, but let's be honest. For decent races do not make a full season, and they certainly don't constitute a resurgence. The jury is still very much out. As things stand, a tough and possibly uncomfortable conversation may be looming behind closed doors. Aston Martin's senior stakeholders, including Honda and Newey, may soon have to persuade Lance Stroll that his son may no longer be the optimal partner for Verstappen in a team aiming to dethrone Red Bull and Mercedes. The future remains a swirling cloud of uncertainty. But one thing is becoming uncomfortably clear. Lance Stroll, even as the team's owner, must confront the sobering reality that some decisions transcend personal ties, especially when the long-term success of a billion-dollar project hangs in the balance. Meanwhile, Honda President Koji Watanabe has not been shy about expressing his admiration for Verstappen. He has publicly praised the Dutchman on numerous occasions and has voiced his excitement about the upcoming reunion between Honda and Aston Martin. That admiration could become a significant force behind the scenes, nudging all parties toward a blockbuster reshuffle that would leave the F1 world reeling. Whether Verstappen chooses Mercedes, Aston Martin, or opts to remain in the Red Bull fold, one thing is certain. The next few months will be some of the most politically charged, emotionally complex, and strategically pivotal in recent Formula One history. His words only deepen the growing belief that a new superpower might be quietly forming behind the scenes, one forged from the tried-and-tested chemistry between Honda and Max Verstappen, amplified by the visionary brilliance of Adrien Newey, and potentially poised to upend the entire Formula One hierarchy when the new era dawns in 2026. Honda is no longer hiding its ambitions. As they prepare to enter a new partnership with Aston Martin, the Japanese powerhouse is making it abundantly clear they want a much stronger voice in driver selection, and they're ready to assert themselves in ways we haven't seen since their golden era with Red Bull. In a recent interview, Honda's president laid bare their intentions. Once this season wraps up, our full focus will shift to the collaboration with Aston Martin, he said. To be completely honest, I sincerely hope there's another chance to work with Max Verstappen. That's something I genuinely wish for. I've spoken to him several times, and he's always expressed appreciation for our work ethic, our philosophy, and the way we operate. Over the years, Verstappen has built a powerful bond with Honda's engineering division. His ability to articulate technical feedback with surgical precision didn't just improve their development process. It earned him admiration and loyalty from some of Honda's most brilliant minds. These are not just colleagues anymore. Many within Honda have become die-hard Verstappen loyalists. Their respect is rooted in mutual understanding, relentless pursuit of perfection, and seamless technical synergy. It's no wonder they're itching for a reunion. And while Formula One's elite teams are staring down the barrel of a driver market crunch heading into 2026, with far fewer top seats than elite talents, Honda is planting their flag firmly in the ground. They will have a say. Yes, ultimately, the team signs the drivers, the president added. But just like in our time with Red Bull, Honda will remain a highly influential voice in those discussions. All of this casts Verstappen's situation in sharper focus. His options, while prestigious, are increasingly limited. He could stay at Red Bull and shoulder the titanic burden of rebuilding a fractured empire from the ground up. He could sign with Mercedes and potentially form a super team alongside the precociously gifted Antonelli. Or, he could link up with Aston Martin and revive the electrifying partnership he once shared with Honda and Adrien Newey, a duo that delivered 4 world titles during a golden era of dominance. And make no mistake, Honda and Newey aren't just sentimental factors. In a future F1 landscape expected to be reshaped by revolutionary battery technology and radically redefined engines, those two elements could become Verstappen's ultimate competitive edge. Honda, for their part, had initially expressed caution over the scale and complexity of the new 2026 power unit regulations. But recent breakthroughs in battery integration and hybrid performance have given them a fresh wave of confidence. With momentum on their side, it seems only a matter of time before meaningful negotiations begin between Verstappen's camp, Aston Martin, and Honda. Adding fuel to the fire, former F1 driver Juan Pablo Montoya has publicly stirred the pot with provocative new comments. According to Montoya, the offer being lined up for Verstappen by Aston Martin might be simply too good to walk away from. I think Max will receive a proposal from Aston Martin that's going to be nearly impossible to refuse, he explained. Maybe he gives Red Bull one more year out of loyalty, maybe to buy Newey some time to get everything in place. But let's be real. Newey won't have all the answers overnight. It's a new environment, a fresh team dynamic. It'll take time before they hit full stride. Montoya added that while Red Bull may improve under the 2026 rule set, expecting them to instantly reclaim their former dominance is likely wishful thinking. Sure, they might get better, he said. But will they be dominant again? Probably not. And Max? He's at the absolute peak of his powers. I just can't picture him sitting around waiting to see if Red Bull can make it happen all over again. So now, the question isn't just whether Verstappen will make a move, it's when. Will he act decisively before all the top seats are gone? Or will he gamble on Red Bull rising from the ashes just in time? Perhaps more importantly, which destination truly aligns with his ambition, his legacy, and his hunger for continued greatness as Formula One approaches a new frontier? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop your predictions in the comments below. And once you've done that, make sure to check out the next video that just popped up on your screen. Trust us, you won't want to miss what's coming next.